Hey, this is Daryl from the Jackson Fishing Team again. Continuing my tying of some flies for a trip to Louisiana here in November, first week or so. Here we're going to tie another, almost like a shrimp pattern, but it's actually a crab pattern. Captain Gordon Churchill out of Beaufort, North Carolina, uses this fly. And it can be tied with eyes, without eyes. You know, it's what it is. But it's an interesting fly because one of his clients at the time thought it looked more like a shrimp than it did a crab. So it's known as the Scrab, I guess, Scrab. And anyway, let's take a look at it, and we'll explain the materials as we tie it and going along. This here's the Scrab. It's supposed to be a crab pattern. Some people think it might even be a shrimp. I understand even some people have tied this for striper fishing, and it's been very successful there. The idea is that when it's on the bottom, the deer hair kind of forces the hook up a little bit, and you just drag it along the bottom, especially in a sandy bottom area, and it creates little puffs of sand or mud in there. If it's a weedy area, you might want to put a weed guard on, and that's what I'm going to tie, because I'm really not sure what the environment will be where I'm going to be at in Louisiana, so I'm putting a weed guard on it. And it can be tied without the eye or with an eye. And with an eye, it just depends on how much weight or how deep you're going with it. But we'll explain the materials as we tie it. And on there. The hook I'm going to use is a Mustad S71 SAP in the size 1/0. And of course, I'm going to debarb mine. It's up to you if you want to debarb them or not. And the thread I'm going to use is some 210 denier in tan. You could probably get by with a light brown or whatever. I'm going to start the thread back here at the hook point, trying to keep less material so when I'm spinning the deer hair, it spins pretty easy. You'll see what I'm talking about when we get to that point. On there. And then the first piece of material we're going to put on is I use some old tippet material that might be compromised because of UV or something like that. And in this case, I'm using some 30-pound on there. And I'll also use it for the weed guard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a small loop in the back here to prevent the material I'm putting back here from fouling or wrapping around the hook point. And you can see that's where possibly you're going to get in a little trouble trying to wrap some deer hair on there. And we're just going to put a small loop back here. And I'll use some dikes to cut off the monofilament, not so I don't end up maybe dulling my scissors. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put an eye on it. I'm going to kind of open spiral wrap up to where the eye is going to go. And I'm using some dumbbell eyes that are small and black. I don't think the color matters or the eyes. And I'm going to move it back to about where the thread is there so it's one. You know, I like to measure it by using the dumbbell eye to where the placement is. That way I keep it consistent. And make sure that they're perpendicular. And then I'm going to apply a little bit of super glue. Because it might be bounce off some oysters or rocks. And put some loop over type things, and then we'll helicopter around to tighten it up. Next I'm going to use some gold Krystal flash, and only about 5 strands. This will be kind of like the tentacles, or some people might say it's the tail. And then I'm going to double it over. And then I'll double it over again, but this time it'll be like under the thread. And then I'm going to somewhat just fold it over and trim it off so that it's roughly the length of the hook shank on there. And that loop will help prevent those from tangling around. The next thing we're going to put for claws is some, you can use wood duck flanks, or I'm going to use some Mallard flanks that are dyed wood duck gold or wood duck color. And I'm going to try to take some of these fuzzies off. And then kind of pull it forward a little bit so that it's about the same length as the tail. And I'll trim that off. And I'll put another one on my side. And this, I think, really makes a hindrance on trying to spin that deer hair. But again, like I've said in a previous fly tying video, I'm still a new guy at spinning deer hair. But we'll do our best. And those are the claws. The deer, I'm going to use some deer body hair in tan to kind of match up with that. And you're going to want like 4 to 5 bunches that we're going to put across in there, on there. And I'm going to put it in the hair stacker just because you're only trimming the bottom flat. You're going to let the hair be the full length. And again, I'm going to pull it out with the point in the direction I want to go. And then I'm going to trim some of this here because I don't want it too long. And we're going to go ahead and trim up some more. Well, that wasn't good. That popped off the top. Try it again. And then again, I'm going to pull it out. And trim off some of this. And then we're going to go ahead and tie off before we put the weed guard on. This way we can trim the bottom a little bit to make it flat on the bottom. And then, I don't know, I'm going to fluff it out, try to get rid of some of that. And I use a little razor blade. Make sure that it's flat here, and then you're going to want to trim it don't worry about trimming all the way back. You want some of those fibers in the back to and then I'll just kind of take a little bit off, not too much. Alright, then we'll start our thread again to put our weed guard on. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a double weed guard. We're just going to kind of just fold it and kind of push it a little bit. Gotta move this forward a little bit. Now if you wanted to, you could probably do a single weed guard, whatever weed guard you like. we'll just pull that down tight before we get too carried away. We'll make sure we're having those around the hook, and then we'll just build up a head a little bit to cover up that monofilament. And then we'll put in a whip finish to complete it, and then we'll cut off our monofilament. And we'll take our little cutters again. Trim them off. Then we'll put some UV resin on the threads. Glued in between the eyes. And we'll start on the bottom and shoot that. And there we have it, the Scrab. And you know, it'll fish like that on the bottom, and you can, so it'll kind of sit up like that, and you can tie it in other colors than tan, maybe go multicolored to like maybe what a real crab is, but anyway. Alright, I hope you found that interesting, and we'll give it a try. Don't criticize my deer hair expertise yet. I'm still working on that. And we will give it a try. Try that. Let me know how it works. I'll be letting you know if I catch anything on it or if I even try it. Anyway, this is Daryl Olson from Jackson Kayaks, and we will see you on the water.